All right, welcome back to the show. I have a special guest today, and it was requested by everybody. Shawn is back on the show for the second time. Shawn Buckley, for the people that don't know him, he's a Canadian constitutional lawyer with over 30 years experience. He is the president of Natural Health Products Protection Association. He's known for challenging Health Canada, saying that our regulatory regime treats natural health products like pharmaceutical drugs. He spearheaded one of the largest physical petitions of 150,000+ to Parliament by hand signatures, which is unheard of in Canada. He's also the architect of the Charter of Health and Freedoms. Welcome to the show, Shawn. Did I miss anything? This is an exciting episode. We're going to get into an update of his 150,000 petition. We're also going to touch on cloned meat, which is a huge story right now. I can't wait to hear from Shawn on that. And we're also going to touch on a few other things. So, Shawn, welcome to the show.
Oh, Mark, just so pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
So for people, like every time I see Shawn, I'm blown away with the amount of knowledge that he provides everybody. So this is an exciting show. So let's touch on the 150,000+ petition of literal hand signatures that you handed to Parliament. Is there an update there, Shawn?
Yeah, so just so people understand, the petition is to get this health charter enacted. So we want Parliament to pass this. And what the health charter is for is basically it's illegal for us to access vital nutrients. So there's certain things that we need to actually literally be alive and healthy. And it's illegal for supplement manufacturers to actually sell you the amounts that you need, as crazy as that is. And we shouldn't be in the drug category. We're talking about vital nutrients, natural remedies we've been accessing for centuries or thousands of years. Why do we need Health Canada permission to take vitamin C? So this is to basically free us from really what is absolute nonsense. Now, it's a paper petition. It's the third largest in Canadian history. And we delivered it on the Hill to MP Blaine Culkins, who is going to have it entered for us, tabled into Parliament. The clerk of petitions has to count it first. And during our tour, we've probably collected another 6,000 signatures. So, we're going to count those and scan those so that we have a record and then get them entered. So that's where we are with petitions. And if anyone, wants to fill out a petition, just go to our website or charterofhealthfreedom.org, print off a petition. It's a paper petition, so you have to, sign it and just mail it to the address at the bottom.
How long did that take, Shawn? I'm curious.
Well, we've actually now the interesting thing is Mark, you have to understand that the NHPPA is a small grassroots organization. I mean, there would be years at a time where really we weren't even doing anything. And this was just citizens on their own or health food stores collecting signatures. So it's taken us several years to get there. But when you think it's all just grassroots, the petition, the largest petition was for the Bill of Rights back in the 50s. And that was pushed by the Conservative Party and a whole bunch of civil liberty groups. So the fact that this is just grassroots tells you that people don't want to have to fight to access vital nutrients. This is a really important issue.
But isn't restricting vitamins and natural medicine alternative treatment collide with our chartered rights, Section 2 and 7?
No, not really. I mean, Section 7 is the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. Now, well, I guess it does. I mean, if your life depends on a product, and often it does. I mean, I've been in court cases where the court found that Health Canada killed people by restricting access. Yeah, you would use Section 7. I think less or so Section 2, which is really, religion and conscience and freedom of expression is what I think of it, with Section 2 generally. It's more Section 7, right, to life, liberty, and security of the person.
Yeah, so one of the things is once it's presented in the House of Commons, which I can't wait for, I'll make a video on that. But what happens after that? Yeah,
well, that's really up to us. So so it'll be tabled in the House of Commons, so the third largest paper petition, which has been absolutely ignored by the mainstream media, which is quite fantastic when you think about it. And then it's really up to us, because you would think that the government would go, okay, let's pass this. When you look at what we're asking for, it's all completely reasonable. We're just asking you to guarantee the health rights the courts already say we have, and then asking you to basically go back to the way we were. It's only recently that we were put into this drug model. In the United States, they're not in the drug model for the same, like, we shouldn't need government pre-approval to take nutrition or ginger tea or whatever it is. And one thing, you know, Mark, that we learned with this health show is this is life and death. So for your viewers that aren't aware, you know, on my name there, we've got nhppa.org. We ran an online health show, and you can still watch it on our website. And we had ordinary Canadians basically sharing their stories about literally how they're only alive or they'd be completely disabled, but for natural health products. And it's shocking. I didn't, you know, I knew this before because that's how I got involved with this. I'd been a lawyer for Health Canada, and then I ended up acting for herbalists that I had acted against when I was acting for Health Canada. And I came to realize this is total life and death. So, you know, this is why it's resonating with people. And a lot of us don't understand that this is life and death. You know, can I just share an example of, you know,
absolutely,
Justin Donaldson. So for example, you know, one of the persons we had share their story was Justin Donaldson. Well, he's in his early 30s at the time. He's an elite athlete. I mean, he's college level football, and he's been invited to the national powerlifting team. Like, you don't even have to try out. Just if you want to be on the team, you're on, because he's winning all these competitions. Well, he has an old back injury flare up. And it becomes so bad that, as he describes it, I mean, even getting out of bed was about a 20-minute ritual where he's, you know, shuffling his feet along the wall. He's in so much pain. One of his legs is actually shrinking. It's atrophying uncontrollably. So, you know, one leg is big and muscular and the other is shrinking. And the doctor's telling him, you're going to end up in a wheelchair and you're going to become incontinent. We can give you, you know, surgery, but really the prognosis is not good. So here's a 30-year-old, you know, early 30s, had been an elite athlete. He's literally crippled, in chronic pain, facing a wheelchair and diapers, and he's the breadwinner for the family. So, well, he comes across natural remedies that completely restore him to health without surgery. It was so transformative that he's actually got into the business. He's now working for one of the companies whose product was largely responsible for healing him. Now, this is normal for people in the natural health community, but how many people like Justin are there that are actually now in wheelchairs and, you know, incontinent and suffering when they don't understand you don't have to? And that's why this is so important. You know, and it's illegal to share this information. That's the interesting thing, Mark, is so, you know, natural health practitioners or even medical doctors that have learned about this and are, you know, integrative practitioners, they can't share their success stories. They'll get shut down by Health Canada. The manufacturers that are aware of these stories, they can't share them. There's so much censorship, but there's censorship so that people don't learn. It's really, I would say, even use the term nefarious on how our system is geared to prevent Canadians from understanding that there's different ways to treat yourselves other than the chemical drugs.
It's unbelievable, because you would think that they want us to be healthy, right?
No, they don't, though. That's the thing. I mean, I know we're going to get to this cloned meat. Listen, there's two government agencies that have been responsible for our food supply, and that is Health Canada and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And, you know, let's not be conspiracy theorists, so I'm just having fun here. If I was to ask the question, is it possible that our food supply could be more toxic without the population popping? Like, I mean, if the goal was, how do we get, where's that line where we can have the food supply as toxic and harmful as possible without the population reacting? We're there. I mean, we're literally there. Everyone watching this, if we tested you just to pick one awful chemical, glyphosate, every one of us has it. Even if you're eating organic and trying to do all the right things, you have glyphosate, and there's no safe amount for you. Court after court is now finding it causes cancer, but it actually leaches minerals from you. It's a chelator. And the fact that we, allow it to be sprayed on our crops is absolutely fantastic. This, is shocking.
They're spraying our forest, Shawn. They're spraying our forest.
Well, I know, but it doesn't matter. We can't go into our forests anyway. It's like they're getting us into these Hunger Game districts. Well, I have to tell you, I could not believe that the population in 2 provinces this summer accepted that they couldn't go into their forests. Like
I mean, because of grandma's sticks. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, that's an overreach for sure. And I mean, we could go deep into that because it looks like they sprayed the forest while it was shut down.
But they've been spraying the forests for decades and decades. So this isn't new. This is not new. It's just it came out recently, but they've been doing this for a long time.
We need to talk about this clone meat. I mean,
yeah.
I'm really interested because, just the thought. I mean, I asked people of my audience on X, I said, hey, if clone meat was half the price, would you buy it or would you buy just, regular meat? And over 98% said, even at half price, I'd choose the regular meat. So are they not paying attention to what Canadians want? We want labeling. We want at least the choice to choose if one's better for us. Then why can't we choose which one's better for us as opposed to just mixing it on the aisle so we just don't know what we're getting anymore? It makes zero sense.
On so many levels. So first of all, we're really talking about lab-grown meat here. When we're talking cloned meat, we're not talking them cloning animals. We're talking them growing, your steak. So it's not, with blood vessels and all of this fun stuff. So from a nutritional perspective, what's in there? Because the reason, we're designed to eat plants and to eat animals that, are part of our ecosystem. So A, it's just repulsive. B, it's likely not going to be good for us. I mean, we know from the genetically modified foods that they are an absolute train wreck from a health perspective.
Sorry for interrupting, Shawn. They said the reason that they're not labeling it is they've classified it as safe for consumption. So that's the thing, right? So that's what they're trying to tell people is it's safe. So we don't need to label anything. It's the same.
Okay. So I've been practicing as a lawyer in the food and drug area for, now working on my 31st year. And I don't believe anything Health Canada says. And I don't believe that our food supply is safe. Our drugs definitely aren't safe. So, just when Health Canada says safe, I mean, that's political marketing. They have to tell you it's safe when they're allowing it onto the market. But our food supply is anything but safe. I mean, let's just even talk about how you need nutrition to be healthy, and we can't get it from our foods anymore. The U.S. Department of Agriculture regularly has surveyed, since 1900, our food supply. And in the 40s, they sounded the alarm saying you actually can't be healthy by eating anymore. The nutrient level has dropped so much. And they actually cataloged all the chronic illnesses that we get from the fact that our nutrients aren't in our food. Well, it's gotten worse and worse. And then we've added chemical after chemical after chemical. It is impossible to actually eat well in Canada unless you're growing all of your own food or
that's
sourcing it.
But I don't even understand. So why did we lose so many nutrients from our food?
Well, it's our modern farming practices, and it's using things like glyphosate that actually leach minerals out of our food supply. If Health Canada wanted us to be healthy, they would actually be documenting, what nutrients are in our foods, requiring labeling of that so that we would then demand that our foods have that. And then they would not fertilize with just a few ingredients that make big crops. They would fertilize with all the minerals that we need. They would be growing things in such a way that our food would be stocked with vitamins and minerals.
So even organic food would still be lacking.
You have to supplement. So, I mean, we eat organic in our house as much as we possibly can, and you still have to supplement. And you need advice on supplementing. So you cannot be healthy. You will get chronically sick if you aren't supplementing, because that's where we are. You know, if you want to eat healthy, you have to go to a third world country now.
So if you were to supplement or tell the audience, what are some of the things, supplements that are, you know, you have to have? And I know D would probably be one of them, since we don't have enough sunshine here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not that person to give you advice, but I will generally say, listen, you need a really good multivitamin, meaning also with minerals. Definitely need to supplement D. You need to supplement C, you know, but get advice. It's very easy to get advice. Get advice, because they'll want to know kind of who you are, what your diet is, you know, what you're facing. And likely you need magnesium too. But, you know, back to this cloned beef issue, you were, you know, raising the fact that, well, wait a second, they don't have to label it. So let's talk about that for a second, because, you know, yes, there's a problem that they're allowing it on the market when likely it's not safe at all. There's no way that they have done long-term safety testing. There's no way that they've done medium-term safety testing. And likely, if, you know, it was transparent, we would say, you can't even say this is safe in the short term. But the second issue is, I want that labeled. I don't want to go to my grocery store and buy a package of ground beef and learn that actually it wasn't a cow out in a field, that it was something grown in a lab, you know, Lord knows how. I want it labeled. So why isn't it being labeled? You're not going to find a Canadian out there really that doesn't want it labeled. And why aren't our genetically modified foods labeled? Because most of us actually would want to know that too. Now, just so your audience knows, there is an organization that certifies, and you'll see these little, you know, stamps, you know, non-GMO compliant. And if it's organic, it won't have genetically modified. So just eat organic. But it makes a difference. You know, there's somebody close to me, if she eats, you know, regular flour, bang, it's like she's got Crohn's. If she avoids it, she doesn't. And it's like a light switch. And there's person after person after person like that. There'll be a whole bunch of your viewers that actually will be suffering fairly significant health consequences because of the genetically modified foods, and they don't know. Why aren't those labeled? So at least we would know. You know, I was sharing with you off camera that it used to be that we had, you know, we've got the Food and Drug Act that has safety requirements. And we have food regulations that really are an accumulation of learned lessons. So how much orange dye can you put in a popsicle before, you know, more than, you know, 1 out of 1 million children dies? Because that's our ultra safe level. So we'll allow orange dye into popsicles so that there's 40 million of us. We only lose 40 kids a year from the orange dye. So, well, what is that level? It's kind of like some trial and error. And then it becomes part of our food regulations. But they changed the Food and Drug Act actually kind of in 2 steps, where they gave the Minister of Health the authority to exempt any food or class of foods from most of our safety provisions in the Food and Drug Act and basically any part of our food regulations, but they had to publish it. So you could hire somebody like me to tell you whether a food that you're relying on complies with our safety laws. But then they amended the Food and Drug Act to actually allow the Minister of Health to do this even if it was dangerous, because before we used to have a safety requirement. Couldn't do it if it was dangerous. So now the Minister of Health can basically exempt any food or class of foods from all of our safety legislation and laws, and they don't have to publish it anymore. So you could hire me. I couldn't even tell you if a food you're buying at the store complies with our safety laws. That might surprise a lot of people. So here we've got cloned meat where they don't have to tell us that it's cloned, but really it's any food you're buying in Canada, you can't know whether or not it's complying with our safety laws. You're just assuming it does. And then the spoiler alert is, well, it's gotten so out of control with all the chemicals and additives that they allow that even if they're complying with our safety laws, our food isn't safe anymore. It's absolutely toxic.
This is unbelievable, Shawn. I'm sorry. I just, every time I talk to you, I'm just blown away. It's just so disheartening to think that they're not looking out for our health. You just have to go to the hospital to really feel how, if you don't have someone there with you, you're not going to get taken care of. It's that bad. And that's just in our health system. But to know that Health Canada is not, looking after our health. Is there some tips that, so outside of the organic food, we're all toxic here.
Yeah.
So is there some tips that we could take on right away that to improve our health?
Yeah. And I'm the lawyer guy, but I've been in this field for so long that there's some things that I can confidently tell you that you should do. So first of all, understand that all of us are carrying a horrible toxic load. It's almost like, we're on a walking journey and they've put 100-pound knapsack on our back with 100 pounds of toxins. We're all walking around, we're all functioning fine, but we likely don't remember none of us actually know what it feels like to be healthy anymore without this toxic load. So there's some things that you absolutely can do. So first of all, try to eat organic. And try to source your food, especially your meats. Anything, the higher up the food chain, the more important. So try and source your meats from a farmer that isn't using antibiotics, somehow is avoiding the vaccinations and stuff like that for your meats. So try to do that. Get an infrared sauna. They are incredible, but you don't want one from China that's going to off-gas a whole bunch of stuff. The best one in the world it's an Ontario company called Sonoray. So they actually source a specific type of wood that doesn't off-gas, and they don't put any finish on it. And they've been tested so the electromagnetic frequency isn't too high.
And how often do you use sauna?
Well, you probably want to do that 3 times a week, but it's an incredible way, an absolute incredible way of detoxing. Exercise. So, listen, our water supply, if you were to take your tap water to a lab and get it tested, you would be absolutely shocked. And, most of us can't afford a whole house water system, but you think about it, clean air, clean water, clean food. So if you're just getting clean food, but you're bathing in chlorine and fluoride and every other chemical that's in there, you're not doing yourself any favors. And if you're drinking it, you're not doing yourself any favors. So if you can afford it, whole house water filtration system. My recommendation would be Crystal Quest in the States. Quite pricey, but you get a whole house system, what will happen is after you've had it for a while and you go to a restaurant or your friend's house, you will taste their water and you're now accustomed to clean water and you won't drink it. You'll refuse to drink it. And there's certain, I would get advice from a healthcare practitioner, like a nutritionist or whatever, and usually you can access them at health food stores, so you don't even have to pay, and say, do you have some detoxing regimes that I can go through? Because there's different products and things that you can do. And, let's say you were going to a naturopathic doctor and you were tested high in heavy metals and that. I mean, they're still allowed to do chelation, like intravenous chelation. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. But, step one would be is just finding out where you're at. We've all got a toxic load.
So how would you find out your toxic load? Do you get blood sample for that?
Yeah, you can. Let's say you wanted to test for heavy metals. Like a naturopathic doctor is going to basically give you a supplement that's going to basically cause you to release into your urine, and they test your urine. They can do hair analysis. There's different ways of testing. So hair, urine, but blood is just a very temporary marker. So usually hair and urine is the challenge test is a better way of doing it.
Oh, interesting. Learning so much. I love it. Okay, well that's great. Yeah, and I believe the water. I mean, water is we drink it all day. We need to drink clean water. I started out with just the the Brita on the to go, but I drink way too much water. So I did invest in a rental. I rent a 3 carbon filtration system, and now I can't drink anything else. So definitely worth it. We have a couple more minutes together. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience that I'd love to have you back, by the way, because there's some other topics that we didn't touch on today, like our chartered rights. If you guys haven't seen it, I published it on my X channel. Shawn covered our chartered rights. What rights? It's quite an interesting segment, but I'd love to talk to you about that because it seems like you know quite about Canada's charters rights. But that's a long subject. So just today we focused on these topics. But anything else to close, Shawn?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and it'd also be good to do another show just on Health Canada. I think that your audience would be shocked if they understood just how dangerous our environment is. And my takeaway would be is the difficulty is we've allowed Health Canada and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to have responsibility over our food supply, and we trusted them. And you should never trust anyone, because then you're not watching out, then you're not taking personal responsibility. But we're so far past that danger line that unless your goal is to get chronically sick and then suffer and die, if that's what you think the end is, really you should live a long time and you should be healthy until you die. You shouldn't have this expectation of becoming chronically sick, and you don't need to. There's this whole world out there. So basically educate yourself and start looking into this.
Perfect. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule so that you could speak to the audience today, because like I said, your wealth of knowledge, I can't wait to have you back on the show. And I also look forward to hearing updates on the petition. I'm sure that would be a good time to get back together because that's an exciting, hopefully something happens with that.
Thanks for having me, Mark.